two material. For the first is about imagery and the second is about figurative of language. Before we start, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Bimantari. My study number is 93103 and
my name is Adellia Altasia. My study number is 19311057.
And my Larasati. My study number 191043.
And my Eva Fitriyani. My study number 191071.
My name is Oktsadira Anthonia. My NPM is 191051.
Okay, here I want to explain you about the type of imagery. The first is visual imagery. Visual imagery is a memory technique that involves constructing mental image when learning new information in order to be able to better recall the information later. The example is she sat at the desk, chin on hand, and carelessly flipped through the page. When she got to chapter 3, she sat up straight and pulled off her glasses.
second is auditory imagery. What is definition of auditory imagery? It's used to explain things, ideas, and action using sound that appeal to our sense of hearing. It is intended to invoke a sound image in the mind of the readers. In literature, it means to use word and literary device in a way that they make readers experience sounds when reading poetry or prose. And I have example. The title is about Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. My later horse must think it choir. To stop we had a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells and shake, to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound, the sweep of easy wine and downy flake.
Next, the third, I want to explain about olfactory imagery and its meanings appeals to our sense of smell. Readers then pass olfactory imagery craft their words to appeal to our sense of smell, so that we can almost smell what they are talking about. With example, Miss Thompson Goes Shopping by Martin Armstrong. The old strain fragrance filled the air, a fragrance like the garden pink, but thing with vague medicinal sting of a camphor shop newsform blend with chloroform and violency. The underlying phrase in the third line represents the aroma of pharmacies. From the perm above we can smell the aroma of medicine. Olfactory imagery is noticeable by medicinal sting.
The fourth, textile imaginary. The poem above represents the total clarification. From the poem above, we can feel how not the fire. It is almost like a big prevailed textile imaginary is noticeable by word Pume's poem. For example, a dungeon horrible on all sides round as one great Puma's flame.
The last is about gustatory imaginary. The definition of gustatory imaginary is words or pictures that make someone think of food or taste. An example of gustatory imagery is picture of a chocolate cake making someone imagine what the cake tastes like, and our reader seems to taste something that gives rises to a certain taste: bitter, sweet, salty, spicy, delicious, and so on. Example from gustatory imaginary from poem This is Just to Say by William Carlos William. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold. In this short poem by William Carlos, part of So Sweet is example of gustatory imaginary.
The second is simile, is a figure of speech that compares one thing to another by using a conjunction or comparison word. The example is consider this description of this man. He is as thin as a rail. There can be no real similar between a man and a rail, but describing a man as thin as rail evokes the image of a remarkably thin man, as a rail is a very thin pole.
Okay, the second is about metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of speech that describes an object or action in a way that is not literally true, but helps explain an idea or make a comparison. Those are the use of metaphor, and this is the official definition. A word of praise for one thing that is used to refer to another thing in order to show or suggest that they are similar. An object, activity, or idea that is used as symbol of something else. And I have example, it is love is a battlefield. Bob is a couch potato. Baby, you a firework. I'm a titanium.
Now, number third, and I will to explain about personification is when human characteristics are attributed to an inanimate object. It is used to convey the meaning that an item or thing has performed an action when in reality it has not. With example one, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. When all at once I saw a house of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Wordsworth is famous for taking nature and giving it human qualities. This poem is no different. Notice how those golden daffodils dance and move in the breeze instead of just getting blown about.
Or from hyperbole is the expression used by the poet to enhance the dramatic effect to the readers. For example, what if the deep and ample stream should be a mirror of my heart, where she might read the thousand thoughts I know, but try to the stanza to the PO Lord Byron.
And about synecdoche is a figure of speech in which a part of something is used to signify the whole or vice versa. Example, the eyes around had worn them dry and breaths were gathering firm for that last onset when the king be witnessed in the room. Poem from I heard a fly jazz by when I did by Emily Dickinson. In this famous short poem by Emily Dickey, the second stanza contains an example of synecdoche. The speaker in the poem is at the point of death, and in the second stanza makes note of the eyes around. The eyes in this case refer to the audience that has gathered by the speakers. That the speakers doesn't refer to the people themselves, but instead to their eyes, which are now dry from having excited their theirs and breaths.
6. About metonymy. Metonymy is a figure of speech that use a word or two which is a brand, kind of other which is a unity of a word. The example is cigarettes are replaced by jarum or udang garam. The car was replaced with a kijang.
7 is allusion. The verb from allusion is to allude. So alluding to something is the same thing as making an allusion to it. This allusion is used by the author or conveying, though without having to use too long sentences or explaining function. For example, like you are acting like such a Scrooge. Alluding to Dickens' A Christmas Carol, this line means that the person is being miserably unselfish, just like the character Scrooge from the story.
Number 8, about apostrophe, meaning a sudden turn from the general audience to address a specific group or person or personified abstraction absent or present. With example, lyric the song "The Star" by John Taylor. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. This poem became one of the most popular nursery rhymes taught to little children, often in the form as is shown. In this nursery rhyme, a child speaks to a star or an inanimate object. Hence, this is a classic example of apostrophe.